Well, hello again. It's another miserable, rainy, kind of drizzly, cool day, but it is warm enough that I could maybe get out there and try to get that second spring up. Tell you what, let's go ahead and do something else today since the temperature's so warm. We're going to go ahead and put our JB Weld steel impregnated epoxy on there. You'll remember that Ron C. said, my original idea was to go ahead and tape it or on the bottom, and then just go ahead and lay it in there. But Ron C. said use cardboard. Yeah, take cardboard, put it up under there with a magnet. Well, that idea totally sucked. I'm talking about the cardboard side of it. The magnet idea, pretty smart. And what we're going to do, instead of using cardboard, which of course would have stuck to the epoxy, that went down through the hole, and I would have peeled the cardboard away. The cardboard would have stayed on the bottom down there, and I'd have had to get that off. However, I do have plastic sheeting. Plastic sheeting. Watch this. I do have a magnet, several of them as a matter of fact, and that'll work great. Look at that. Look at that. So, Ron, half your idea was good. The other half sucked canal water, okay? All right, let me get underneath this. I'm going to cut this thing up into pieces, and I'm going to go under the car and put a magnet up and holding each, underneath each hole, and get it in position. Then we'll whip up the old JB Weld and see how it turns out. Right after filming that last segment, I gave up for the day, went on in the house, and it wasn't long afterwards Ron C. put up a video where he had to do some patching on a battery case that he had bought in an Atwater Kent metal box radio, a 67, model 67 I guess it was, 67B. Anyway, he had the same situation in that box, that old rotted out battery box that I have right here that I've since ground the paint off, a bunch of holes. So what he did was he decided to use an epoxy, a JB Weld kind of epoxy filler, just like I am, only his was a little bit different. And he decided that it would be a good idea. It would not be a good idea to use cardboard. So he used plastic instead. I said, wow, I must have communicated with him. What do they call it when you communicate by mind? Telepathically. I thought that was pretty funny. Oh well, you have redeemed yourself, Ron. Well, that takes care of that. Boy, I'll tell you what, this stuff was really easy to use. I couldn't believe it. You pop that little gray end off, then you just squeeze it. You don't have to squeeze your brains out or nothing. It just comes right on out, just as creamy as can be. They give you a little popsicle stick to mix it up with. Boy, it works great. Whole job was a breeze. Now, this stuff sets up in 6 minutes, but it cures in 4 to 6 hours. So we'll just let it sit here until tomorrow, and then we'll come back and take another look at it. If I need to put a second application somewhere, then that's what I'll do, I guess. For those of you who have been following the series, you know that when I took that first hanger off that leaf spring, the bolt got damaged on one end. The threads got burgered up because I really didn't know how to take it out. And by the time I figured it out, it was too late. The bolt was bad. Well, I contacted Eaton Spring Company again, and I said, hey, look, I need a bolt. It's got to have a 3-inch flat spot in order to be used with the bushings. And they said, yep, we got just the bolt you need. They sent it to me. But when it got here, now this is the right size shaft and everything. It goes right on through the bushings. The problem was I had a small hole here and a small hole here. You'll remember that the threaded ends of that original bolt were smaller than the actual bolt area itself. So, what do I do now? Well, I said, it's time for me to call on my buddies at work where I used to work, where I retired from. And I went in here and I said, guess what I need, boys? And they took care of me. They drilled a hole out here, and they drilled a hole out larger here. So now the old bolt will go all the way through the bushings and put the nut on the other end. Nice hardened steel bolt from Eaton. Those boys take care of you. Old William up there, the same guy, he took care of me. All right, let's see if we can get the spring over here and get all the crap in it and get it hauled over to the side of the car where it needs to go. Well, as usual, old man Murphy finally showed up. It took quite a while, but he showed up again. This bolt is a little bit too long in that once I get it through here like so and stick it out, once I squish that rubber down, you can see that it goes beyond. This is where the body of the car comes up against the back of the hanger. So you can see that even with the rubber mounts, I'm just a little bit, it looks way over right now, but once it's on there, I'm only about that far over, but that's far too much. Well, we're back to square one on this hanger. It's just not working out the way I had planned. They went ahead and cut the bolt off, like I said, and they drilled the 2 holes out for me. I put the nut on the end of it that came with the bolt, and I got thinking that night. I said, you know, something's not right there. It's still not right. And it was going to turn around and around. I said, nah. You know, this nut is going to have to be welded onto the hanger. It's just, this bolt is not the same design as the original, so I'm going to have to, you know, I'm constantly having to modify. That's one of the problems when you do modifications. One mod leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and many times you just have to scrap the whole thing. You know, I'm almost to the point of doing that now. So I took the hanger back and I said to Joe the welder, would you please weld that nut on the end for me so it won't turn around and around when I start to torque it. He said sure. So he went ahead and did that. I brought it home. Guess what? It still is not going to work. So what's happening here is as you tighten, with that nut welded on here, or back over there, as I tighten the bolt up, this round ring, this large, it's kind of a curved washer, what happens is it goes right on through to the other side. And it's just, it goes right on through to the other side. No good. That's no good. If there was a way to keep it from doing that, it would have been okay. But the original bolt had a ridge. This just irritates me half to death. I thought we had it resolved, but you know, there again, as I said, one mod leads to another. The original bolt had a ridge here, and it had a ridge here. It was you know, the threaded portion of the bolt, which was on each end, was smaller in diameter than the surface area that supports the spring with the bushings. So that ridge kept that ring from falling through into the middle. I mean, I would have been worried half to death. I probably could have tightened it up and it would have worked for a while, but what happens if the bolt suddenly decides to go in here like this, the ring with the bolt in it, the head and everything, and all of a sudden it drops down into here, and then my leaf spring, you know, the old leaf spring goes down with it. Well, that's not going to work. Not going to work. So I went ahead and cut the bolt off with my moto tool. Tried to use that air compressor grinder to do it, but I don't have enough air pressure. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. It's an 8-gallon tank. I may have to go bigger. Oh, one thing after another. But we'll work it out. We will always fix it. So anyway, I cut the nut off, and I went on eBay and got lucky again. I don't know how this happens, but I found an original bolt. It's from a 1964 Thunderbird. Instead of having the threads on both ends, it only has threads on one end with a nut and this thing here on the other. And this thing here, it has a ridge right there. This thing is sandwiched between the ridge and the head. That solves that problem. The ridge down here will be solved when it hits against this. See, one of those ridges hit against right there, and the other one against the outside of this thing, or the inside of this thing right here. Kept it spaced. Anyway, I went ahead and bought the bolt. It was not cheap, but what can I do? You know, my back was against the wall on that baby. And he also had a hanger there for sale. They came out of a 64 Thunderbird, and he also had a hanger there for sale. And I was going to buy the hanger too, but then I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And the reason being is the 64 hanger does not have this extra strap of steel welded to it like the 66 did. So there was a redesign issue there. Hopefully the bolt will be long enough to go all the way through. We're going to be back to square one again. And you know, so I decided to keep this hanger and you know, just clean it up. But what am I going to do now? I've already drilled the hole, you know, bigger than the bolt that it's coming in. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this thing back to Joe the welder. I'm going to wind up owing him another pie before it's over. And I'm going to stop in at the hardware store and pick up one of these really, really thick washers And we are going to, if I can ever get this thing to sit up right, I'm going to ask him if he can take that really thick washer, which will be the hole will be the diameter of the new bolt. I'll have him spot weld it right there, and that should do it. Then I can paint this thing back up, make it look halfway decent. Keep your fingers crossed on that one, guys. You know, this could be a marathon project all in itself. I hope not. Anyway, I'm going to go in there and tell Joe and say, hey, look, buddy, you know, I torqued this thing to 20 pounds, and look what your weld did. It just broke right off, you know. That'll set him on fire. Another reasonably warm day in Arkansas. Finally, God, I thought it would never get here. It has really been really cold. Anyway, we're ready to go. I've got all the rust out of there. I touched it up a couple of spots where they want to be a little bit stubborn with the grinding stone, but it's all gone now. It is time to shower down on it with some primer. Now I hit it really heavy, really thick, and I'm going to go ahead and hit it again really heavy and really thick. And I want this protected as much as possible. There could be rust down in there that I think I got it all, but you never know. You know, it's like cancer. You know, you think you got it, but you don't. So it'll probably take about 3 years for it to dry. And eventually the next thing that goes over the top will be undercoating after I get it back on the car. Now I'm not painting the rubber part. Don't paint the rubber part on these things. The bumper, you know, tape them off, because what's going to happen is the paint's only going to flake off later anyway. So why waste the effort? I'm in the mood for some deep fried chicken drumettes tonight. I've been wanting some for quite a while, and tonight it's going to happen. And we're going to stick old Frank's hot sauce, buffalo wing sauce on there. I'll show you how that's done in a minute as soon as all the wings are done. This is the last of them here. Now I seasoned that oil with some Tony Chachery's spice and herbs. Great stuff. Use it on just about everything if you want. And I threw some chicken rub in there too. It gives it that dark color. Kind of cooks it right into the chicken wings, or, you know, I always call them wings, but they're actually drumettes. Now I ask you, do they look good? Look at the color of that grease. When you put that seasoning in there, boy, it just cooks it right into every crack and crevice of that chicken. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to put it in our Hooters bucket. Yes, we got a little Hooters bucket here. Put it all in here. Don't you just love mixing cooking with Thunderbird repair? It's what keeps things lively around this place. Got a little steam coming up out of there. Alright, what's the next step? Well, after you melt a stick of butter, I always use butter, you go ahead and pour you some of this here Frank's hot sauce in there. You can get the original or hot as you like it, whatever. And you just kind of mix it around. You don't have to use an entire stick if you don't want. I don't plan to use all of this stuff. We're just going to go ahead and pour it on in here. I want it nice and thick. Mix that stuff around. Yeah, oh, it's working out good. Working out good. No, Carl. Skycarl can't have it. Brendan, he knows how to make his own. Ron C, too bad. Too bad you're not here. We'd split a bucket of this stuff. Alright, here we go. Now what we do is just take it over and we pour it over the top of the chicken. Now normally I have a completely full bucket, you know, but there's usually more than one person here. Now you pour that in there like so. You don't need to use it all. I don't plan to use it all. And we're going to put the lid on it, and then we're going to pick it up and shake it like crazy. Oh my God, I cannot tell you. I cannot describe in words how good that chicken is. With that seasoning that's on it, oh man. And that hot sauce, it's not really hot. It's kind of a mild kind of hot. It's delicious. I'll wind up freezing this or putting it in the refrigerator. I'll probably munch on it all night long, but I intend to eat every single one of these. Meanwhile, what do you say we go ahead and get this bracket up? It's dried. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the tape on the bumper. We'll get it all bolted back in. I bought 2 new bolts to replace the ones that were messed up. These are the new bolts. All brand new washers. We'll go ahead and bolt it up, and then when we get it bolted up, we'll hit it with some undercoating, and then we'll go ahead and take the tape off after the undercoating dries, probably tomorrow. Shoot it with the old undercoating. Make sure I get it really good, and then we'll call this one a wrap. And I think once I do that, we're going to call this a day. Still pretty cold out here. That may even wind up being the end of the video. I don't know. When I get it on the computer, I'll know how long it is. I hate to give you guys a really short video, and I don't want to give you a really long one either, so we'll see. Tell you what, we'll just go ahead and end this video right here, and with my usual sign off, you know, until next time, this is John. However, before it's totally ended, you all know what it means when somebody comes up with something like this. Yes, you do. Shout out for our good buddy up in Michigan, Brendan. One more bite. Oh, God.